Good morning.
Good morning.
We're muted, I think.
You're muted.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us now?
Yep, I hear you.
All righty.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Gary.
Hello. Good morning.
This will work out okay.
Yeah.
How are you, Ron?
Well, I have news for Carolyn then.
Yeah.
She always asks, hey, Lou,
Oh,
no, where's Lou's kids? What's happening with Lou's kids?
she had them both. She did a great job with them.
Well, she's forcing Chris and Audra to either send Ryan to kindergarten, which he should go, or over to the church for preschool, because he's got to socialize with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
He's becoming so OC. He's more than Henry ever was, and we always thought Henry was the one that would break a ball on being OC.
The little kids are not really the issues, it's the adults, the
Yeah.
older kids.
And my grandson should be entering first grade in Seattle. When I talked with him, we FaceTime, it's real obvious he needs the social.
Mhm.
Oh, Ryan does
and
really bad.
is missing it terribly.
Seattle's a mess right now.
Seattle and Portland both.
Geez,
What
yeah.
is going on in this world? I'm telling you.
Yeah, they've had their share.
Hi, Ron, I didn't mean not to speak to you.
The good thing is they live in the university area and there really hasn't been
Good.
any problems.
See, Sue Bale's son lives right downtown.
Oh, yeah, I would not.
And he went over into Eugene, Oregon for about 2 weeks with somebody that worked with the university with him. And just to get away from there.
Yeah.
He said like he couldn't have his windows open because of the smell from all the tear gas and stuff that they've had.
How awful.
Hey, they're peaceful protests.
I know there are people protest, but other people gotta survive. Oh, peaceful?
Peaceful, some,
They're just setting off celebratory fireworks. That's it.
Well, if you live there, you might not say that.
They need to stop
They're
setting off
celebratory.
celebratory fireworks in my neighborhood. 4th of July is over. My
I
poor
know,
dog
we
is
still have some
traumatized right
too,
away.
in Huntington Hills. I was surprised somebody still got fireworks out there.
I'm surprised with how dry it's been. Nobody's caught anything on
Oh
fire.
my God, I know.
Oh, you ought to have seen it around my house on the 4th. It was, and it was really dry back then, and they were shooting them off all over the place. I'm actually surprised there wasn't a fire somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's get further away from them.
So I see the local board of health and their decisive decision has decided to overturn that.
Yeah, it's called
It's called
walk back.
sports.
It's called politics.
We're not giving up football.
Why is Pickerington in Columbus Health District?
Where are they what?
Because part of it's in Franklin.
Just because part of the,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said, why was Pickerington in Columbus's health district?
It's because they're Franklin County.
Yeah, I think, I know we have a little bit, but it's not a whole lot.
Right, it's not like Canal Winchester.
No.
Well, there's a disconnect between the city of Columbus's health department and Franklin County.
County,
as
oh,
well.
yeah, you can see
And what
it.
they didn't realize in the city of Columbus when they made take their stance is that Worthington actually falls in the city of Columbus. So they didn't realize it was gonna impact them.
I haven't seen what was Columbus's decision.
Well, they're leaning toward virtual for the first 9 weeks.
Oh.
And that may change, huh?
Good.
Columbus City Schools.
yeah,
But I think everything, Laura asked me this morning, what's the plan of the districts? I think it'll be some sort of hybrid, I believe, for most of the districts, maybe not LU, because Dr. Johnson is not feeling kids should be face-to-face. But I think that in the next 2 weeks, before school starts, things may change. At the end of the day, they need to plan for whatever.
Yeah.
And they need to be able to be prepared to be fluid and going.
Why does she look the way she
In her-
does? It's a glasses on.
So,
Oh, that's much better.
I don't know, we have another superintendent's meeting on Friday, which I'll tell you about, but it's been
Who's the superintendent of the
interesting.
union?
Mike Johnson from Bexley.
He used to be a vet.
Oh, yeah, in fact, no, that's not who I wanted to ask you. Who's at Fairfield Union?
Chad Melville,
Is he new?
he's 3 years in, I think.
Okay.
Maybe, I'm losing track of time, I think he's 3 years in.
I'm glad.
Yeah,
you're
Fairfield
having
Union, so I
fun.
was like, I'm not. So I was like, yeah, I know Mike Johnson.
Dear, so we know that Gary's out there. Charlotte.
There's Charlotte.
There's Charlotte.
Hi, Charlotte. She's back in my head.
How are you?
Okay, how are you?
Oh, I think we're all okay.
We're living a dream.
Glad to
Better
hear.
than seeing a nightmare.
We hope it's not a nightmare.
Tuesday night.
I know, I'm trying to be positive.
You still out there, Gary?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry,
Okay.
I can't attend. My allergies just keep me coughing now and then and sneezing, and I don't do well in masks for over about 15 minutes, so.
Understand. No problem.
I go in the grocery store with a mask on and I get hot.
Yeah.
Understand.
Hot, fogged up.
Yep.
So I do
No problem.
like marathon shopping. I run in, grab what I need, get out.
Yep. That's the best way to do it.
No, I had the side of my face sunburned the other day, and I don't know how that happened. But then when I put this on, it was like rubbing the side of my face.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Sorry, could we get a possible meeting time change on, in case my course goes, in case I get to keep my course? I don't know.
We
Did you
can
see?
talk about that. Did you see
Yeah, I
the
saw her
email from
email.
From who?
Charlotte about her class schedule?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it did. Starting in August, right?
Yeah, that would be the first day of class.
Yeah. And how many, I can't remember, how many months? Was it 3? September, October, November?
Yes, well, it depends on, okay, let me look. But when we have, okay, in December, we do the third Tuesday, don't we? Just a moment, let me-
First semester.
Whoops, exit first. Exit, So, yeah, August, September, October, 4, November. Now, let me look here.
August, September, October.
Let me check on December.
Well, that shouldn't be a problem with the 4th week. School should be over.
We always have it the
Should be on
third week
break.
in
We have it
December.
on the third week in December.
Yeah, but still, they should be done. They're usually done at the same time. Colleges are.
Our grand's trying to schedule to be done at Thanksgiving.
Okay. We will add that at the end of our agenda, Charlotte, under
Okay.
additional reports, and we'll take care of rescheduling then, okay?
Okey doke. I just didn't want to forget it.
Yeah, that way we make sure we get it covered.
Alright.
All right. It is time for us to get started. We're gonna do the pledge and then a moment of silence. And I'm gonna start the pledge today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Here,
Mr. Fowler,
Present.
Ms. Owens,
I'm sorry, what?
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Roll call,
Miss Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman.
yes. Next item is the approval of the agenda and minutes. On the agenda, we do have an addendum. Hopefully everybody got a copy of that or printed it out. The addendum shows corrections to item 11 and 16, and then a new item at the end, number 25. I would recommend that the agenda include those revisions and number 25 under the new business agenda. Any changes to minutes at all that came up? Okay. So I would recommend that those changes to the agenda and the minutes, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Fowler, seconded by Ms. Pierce. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Miss Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman.
Yes. We'd love to welcome public, but we're as public as it gets today. So we'll keep moving on.
I just.
The next item is financial reports. I need a motion, a second, and then we can go ahead and have comments.
So moved.
So
Moved by
moved,
Ms.
Gary.
Pierce.
So,
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bartlett, seconded by Ms. Pierce. Okay, Laura,
so in here we have the, final budget for FY '20. So if you go to, board reference file 2020-0703, it's a nice big packet. You can see what our beginning cash balance was for July 2019, what it ended at June 30, 2020. We ended the year very well. We still had a lot of outstanding invoices that came in paid in July. But as you can see, people did pay their bills, and most of this runoff in each of these accounts is to pay for the runoff of contracts. As you know, like teachers, their work days ended in May, but we pay them through August. So that's why there are some high positive balances when you look at the different special cost centers. Do I have any questions on the final budget?
any questions, Gary or Charlotte?
No, I don't have.
Gary?
On the budget per se, or can we ask about anything else?
And yeah, you can ask about anything else. I was just addressing the budget at this time, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry to be, okay, so like on the minutes, the total of all funds is $4,454,412.91. On the, so that was at the, presumably, June, that would have been, I guess, okay, maybe I'm answering the question. May 31st. And so then, okay, maybe that's the problem.
She's looking at this one.
So I'm just trying to figure out, like, when we have a balance in the general fund as in July 1st, like on our agenda,
Uh-huh.
and then if you look at the report options, it looks like okay, so that's starting balance there, but on the cash summary report, the total is $4,300,000 77. Okay, the total of all funds agrees on the two reports.
Right,
the-
so any
I don't get how
fund,
the starting one doesn't agree.
okay, so on the funds, any fund with 001 is lumped into the balance in general fund as of July 1st, 2020.
Oh, okay.
So it goes from special cost center 0000 down to special cost center 9301. And then we start with the opportunities grant, PBL matters, all of that stuff. Those are broken out separately. But technically, in the financial world of schools, general fund 001 is, no matter what special cost centers that you put under that, it is always lumped together in an audit.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
All right. Any other questions, Charlotte?
Okay, just a moment. Oh, we're not talking about PBL here yet, are we?
Not yet.
No.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone on the financial? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes,
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Steeman.
Yes. Next item is new business. I need a motion and a second, and then we can have discussion.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Pierce. I'll second.
Second. Go ahead.
Hey, put Gary down, that's fine. Okay. Marie,
All right, so we have continued to try to wrap up hiring for this fall. The one opening that we were a little nervous about was the school psych resignation that was received on July 10th by Jessica Moeller, who was at Walnut Township, and she had also agreed to cover a maternity leave for Tricia Rogers, a Fairfield Union school psychologist. Fortunately, we were able to find a school psych who we have hired. Michaela Jellen Tennant is being hired to fulfill the 120 days at Walnut Township, and she will be on a supplemental contract and do a timesheet for up to 15 days at Fairfield Union. We, in an effort to try to assist Fairfield Union in covering this maternity leave, also took the plan we had submitted to the health department for approval for pre-K and screenings and evaluations, and we asked for them to consider the same safety measures translated to K-12 to assist districts in meeting their statutory obligations in evaluation of kids who are either re-evals or new evals for this summer. And that was approved on Monday morning. That was submitted the week before. Michaela will technically start with supporting Fairfield Union on Thursday afternoon of this week. So we're pretty happy with that. You will see that they, our ESC associates are continuing to bring in contracts. And those are appearing on the, you can see on the correction or revision that's on the additional items. So that's good. It seems like a lot of folks are busier than ever, in particular in the area of professional development and consultation with districts. Gosh, what else is remarkable regarding this? We always have changes in terms of preschool staff. We have really limited the number of aides that we are hiring to fill vacancies in the event that through a hybrid or a remote learning approach, they're not needed to the same extent, and that will help us to limit the extent to which we will have to do a partial reduction in force or a reduction in force of staff. So if for whatever reason, we'll talk in a minute or later on when I do my report on where we're at with things about the reopening of schools, in the event we need folks and we have people who have applied, we've already vetted them, at least in a preliminary way, and we would be ready to go in terms of hiring folks. I think the final, I was gonna talk about it within the, my report regarding the, and I think you mentioned it, Charlotte, regarding the PBL.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't do it now. So with the PBL Institute, if you recall, in the very beginning, we had entered a contract with PBL Works to do a face-to-face conference at Otterbein. Because of COVID, that was canceled. We got our reimbursement back from PBL Works, and when we began to work with them on a virtual institute, we were very conservative in initially just contracting for one 101 section and one 201 section, and continued with registration at the reduced rate of $499, and knew that as we acquired 35 registrants to justify another section, we could go back to PBL Works and engage them for additional instructors to lead those sessions. We honestly, on the front end, thought we'd be lucky if we filled the first 2. We fortunately ended up filling 7. And that conference kicks off tomorrow morning, and we have what, 140, no, we have more than that. We have 214 registrants. Where are we at now, Laura? I think we filled all but 3 spots of all of those.
7.
That's wonderful.
7 sessions.
And we're still making money in the process.
Yeah, so they reduced the cost of what the instructor was to $11,500 a session. And I think overall we end up making when I last calculated it, it was in the ballpark of $38,000 in 3 days. So it'll be a moneymaker for us.
Any questions about that from anyone on the PBL or any of the other new business items?
So they are, okay, they provide the instructors, and so each section has a separate instructor, and they're just kind of like basically separate. They don't, yeah, okay, is that right?
Yeah, so they're led by PBL national faculty, but there are also some guest speakers that we have that are we're not paying them. They're national experts that were willing to do some keynotes, and those are relayed to everyone.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're managing this. We're managing this through a remote platform, and fortunately it had already been tested with PBL Works for our earlier conferences, remote institutes this year. So we feel that we're good to go, and hopefully this will be a success. And at that lower cost to participants, think about the fact that they haven't had to drive in. And currently registrants include participants from 25 different states and 7 different countries. So we have an interesting.
James is monitoring those. They're spam calls.
We have somebody's trying to bomb our.
I know. James is monitoring their spam.
So we're really pleased with that.
Sure. Are all the 7 countries in the Western Hemisphere so that you're on the same time schedule?
They are not. They're not, and all that, Teresa Dempsey, Dr. Dempsey's done a phenomenal job communicating with them. with when, with their time zone, when they need to be on, et cetera. That's all been managed. So, I am going to ask her, if appropriate, if at the next board meeting or the meeting after that, to come in and give a report on how the Institute has gone.
Be very appropriate.
And then in addition to that, this summer, and I don't have the statistics yet because we're not done with this summer, we have been busier than ever in terms of book study enrollments and the Google Classroom suite that we've offered. So I don't know, I feel like from a PD standpoint, it's been about as successful as it could be given the conditions that we're operating under.
Gary, do you have any questions on any of the items under new business?
No, I'm good, thanks.
All right. Mary? Charlotte, anything else, please?
No, thank you. I'm glad to hear about the PBL works. Opening date, what do you?
We'll get to that at the end.
Okay.
Under Marie Superintendent's comments.
Okay.
Hearing nothing more, roll call for new business, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Miss Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Steeman.
Yes. The next item is the reports, and superintendent's report is first.
Okay, so let's talk about opening day and opening up the school year. Regarding opening day, we had a meeting with the team, what was that, 2 weeks ago, Laura, to begin to talk about opening day and what we needed to do. We had received notification from the venue that they did not have the space to accommodate all of our staff at the same time. We talked about potentially offering a morning and an afternoon duplicate sessions with time in between to clean and to not offer lunch, because that was a whole other ballgame in terms of managing lunch. As things have continued with now the mandatory mask policy and things being pretty tenuous in terms of face-to-face activities, we're sort of on the fence regarding, do we even have a face-to-face session, but instead continue with the system in place for new employees. Laura is inviting them in and doing a one-on-one orientation. So they're getting oriented to the ESC. They've had meetings, obviously, with whoever their supervisor is going to be, but maybe offer a virtual opening day with staff. I'm torn about this, and the reason why I'm torn about this is here we are in most of our districts looking at a hybrid model. I don't think anybody's going to go back full day, all in, everybody in. They're all offering a virtual option for parents. But what districts have been consistent on is, regardless of what model, their expectation is going to be for staff, unless there's a medical reason for them not to report to the building, to report to the building. Even if they're teaching virtually or remotely, they're going to expect them to come in to work.
Is that across the county?
That, at this point, now this is fluid, Gary, so we have another superintendent's meeting Friday, so that may change. But yes, that was a conversation last Friday when we met with superintendents, and it was a conversation that took place after we had a call with the health commissioner.
Okay.
That they would have, because they'd be in their rooms, they'd be socially distanced, they'd have all the health practices in place, but there's such value in terms of them being focused on the education of children and to be able to collaborate and communicate amongst their peers in terms of how they were serving kids. And so that was the direction all of the districts we spoke to had taken. Now, Pickerington was not on that call, but Pickerington has stayed the course in terms of a hybrid model from the very beginning, offering parents the option to do online, virtual 100% or coming to the hybrid schedule. So why I'm on the fence is if we're expecting our staff to report to a building, which I don't necessarily have an issue with at all, should we have some semblance of an opening day that's face-to-face? I really am very torn about this. And when I've talked to the health department and I've gotten counsel from our legal counsel, essentially what they said was, as long as you're following the CDC guidelines, stay 6 feet apart, wear a mask. If food's going to be sold, it has to be individually packaged so that there's no buffet or sharing of utensils, to serve food. That we could do a face-to-face, but I would like to talk about that today. Regarding, and before we do that, just to let you know that I sent you last night, and I sent it to you as soon as I got it, so it was late yesterday, that I got the updated letter from the health commissioner. I think very much politically pressured. There was a letter that came out from a group of physicians in this county who at the end of the day are not ones who are where the buck stops, but nobody in this entire process has argued that it's best for kids, that it's not best for kids to be in school. We all understand on every level why children going to school matters in terms of reducing abuse and neglect, in terms of development of children, in terms of mental health, etc. When the initial letter was issued by the health department, that letter was issued after superintendents, and I'm not going to name names, pressured the health department to make a call on what was safe from a medical standpoint. So they did. And once they did, then they were slammed because they put it in writing and they made a statement. Well, be careful what you ask for. Yeah. And so they basically backpedaled, and it'll be interesting to see how things play out. We have another superintendent's meeting on Friday. I think the best route for every district to go, and for us to go, is give parents choice and 2 decent choices. Do you want to be in or out? Monitor the data and be prepared to be fluid in terms of how we're going to meet the needs of children. If you recall in the first letter, and it was, I will admit, it was influenced by me. When I knew they were going to put a letter out, I said, understand, I serve children with disabilities, and some of those kids have not done well in a remote or telemed environment because of the nature of the disability. We need to have some latitude to use safe practices and be able to have some face-to-face contact with those kids. And that did lead to that caveat of no more than 10 kids, but if you need to do that, then they're fine with that. Again, we still have to keep 6 feet, follow the mask recommendations and, or mandate, and hand sanitizers, disinfecting things, etc. But I will find out on Friday where things fell out. All the boards are having all the districts are having board meetings or special board meetings this week, it seems. And I know Walnut Township had theirs last night, and they're gonna move forward with both giving the 2 options and doing a hybrid approach. They do not have the space to bring kids back 5 days full time and manage social distancing. There's just simply not enough space. So that's where we're at. I would love to hear your thoughts and guidance. I did send out to you the letter that I sent to all staff that reflected the governor's stance regarding the mask requirement. The expectations that I have regarding travel, and understand where that's coming from. I'm not trying to hammer people out of state or whatnot, but at the end of the day, we serve the most vulnerable population in this county. And I want to make sure that as a service agency, we have staff that are here, ready, and able to serve children if and when we have face-to-face contact with them. And then finally, just a reminder to people to be personally responsible about their own behavior outside of the office. So thoughts.
Here's my thoughts. If I can go first.
Sure.
First off, I think a lot of teachers are pushing to go all virtual because, quite honestly, it would be somewhat easier for them if they don't have to deal in face. I like the fact that the school districts are going to require the teachers to actually come to school and do their work. I actually had that discussion with a couple of people the other day that I felt that, hey, even if you're not going to have kids there, the teachers need to be there. They'll be social distance. They'll be in their own rooms with nobody around, and more focused on doing the job at hand. I think the hybrid approach for the school districts is the way to go, just because everybody has an individual situation, be it, they have elderly people living at home with them, or like my own nephew has, a pretty severe asthma. So getting another respiratory disease on top of that wouldn't be a good thing. So I think they need to leave it up to the individual family to make the call of my kid's going or my kid's not going. Now, then I'm torn because, if the kid's going online totally, he shouldn't be involved in extracurricular activities because that's you either have it all or none, which I think the sports in the fall are driving a lot of this one way or the other. As far as opening day goes, I think just from a liability standpoint for us at this point in time is probably just to do the one-on-one sessions with new employees. I think they'll get more feedback, question and answer wise on an individual approch, which would probably work out best, and then just send out everything else virtually to the rest of the staff that they need to get. That would be my opinion. I mean, there's just too many hurdles to jump over to do this, either bringing in an extra, morning session, afternoon session, opening us up for liability at this time point. And, I think just do the one-on-one and then do the rest of the staff virtually.
Ron or Mary?
I think you summed it up pretty good.
Yeah, because just the facility to do something with everybody is, even if you divide it in sessions, it's going to have to be something that's fairly large, and that's going to have to be pretty much clean between, and so you're going to have a draw time there, which I just don't see. I think you have to almost go virtually with that many people. But I think it's important, like, and I don't mean to put this on Laura, but I think it's important that she does talk with the people who are starting, because there's a lot of questions about insurance and things like that those people need to know. And you can't just send it to them on paper, because they'll never.
They don't read it.
They don't read it. And what they do read, if they don't understand it, they don't bother to ask anybody. They just go on.
Yeah, we're doing one-on-one sessions with all the new hires. For
And
like one solid 1 hour, and they'll go through the chain of people.
We're thinking about doing some virtual session. So, you know, me giving a message, Laura giving a message, directing that, just so that they feel some sense of community and bringing them back together. We also have some professional development that has to be done face-to-face. We moved all the CPI online for the virtual piece. Sherry's gonna have to do the face-to-face piece, but that'll be done in small groups. It's different than having 220
Right.
people in a room.
Yeah,
And
if you take 10 people, you know, Sherry would do 10 people at a time, at least,
yeah,
we'll cut down on.
yeah.
Charlotte, your thoughts? Anything different?
Well, I guess I would defend the teachers. As someone who shifted to teaching remotely in the spring and will be doing it again this fall, I think teachers have found that they were actually spending more time. And so as far as, I hope, you know, there are good things to being at school, but it seems kind of punitive to require them to be there if they have medical facilities at home.
But see, that's part of the
that's-
problem, Charlotte, is that there isn't consistency in connectivity or technology. That was one of the issues that they found.
Well, and that's why it'd be important to have access to the school if they need it for the connectivity in particular. And maybe have some days where, but again, if you remember Arizona this summer, the one place where they had summer school, it was done remotely, but the teachers were trying to, the 3-team teachers, all 3 contracted COVID and 1 died, and they were doing their best to be safe. So people staying in their classrooms, that's one thing, but they'll all probably be going to the workroom or something. They'll be going, so it's not.
Yeah, but Charlotte, that's their personal responsibility. If you know, I'm in my office alone, is one thing, but then if I go to a crowded restaurant or bar or whatever else, I mean, there's some personal responsibility here to be had.
Yeah. I tend to agree with what Gary said earlier. I think you need to have the employees come to workplace in a safe environment as possible. Remind them of their personal responsibilities to everyone else, and continue the one-on-one and do messages remotely. That's the safest way all the way around. And one of the things that, and nobody's gonna wanna hear this, but as a taxpayer, people want to know that teachers are doing something. I don't care at what level, that's the bottom line. I want them to be safe, but the general Joe public is gonna buy in to having them come to work rather than sitting at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And from
At
an
some point in time, you're
administrative,
going to want. At some point in time, you're going to wonder, why am I paying all these tax dollars for new schools and facilities and everything else, and they're not being utilized at least in some degree.
and as an administrator, I will tell you, I want my teachers in the building. I cannot supervise them remotely. And trust me, sad but true, in the profession, you got those that will abuse it. I hate to say that, but
That's true.
that's
That's
the
true.
bottom line.
It's true. I would have to, you know, as being a school administrator too, I mean, that just happens.
That's every profession.
That's every
That's
profession.
right.
And that's the reason some of these companies are having some issues with some of their employees. I talked to somebody the other day that was saying that they've been working remotely, and now the company's saying that they're probably gonna stay remotely at least through the first of the year. And the productivity of some of these people is now going down the tubes.
Right, and what we don't want to do is do something like a Go Guardian or something like that, where you're basically Big Brother on their device, monitoring how
Yeah,
many
you don't want that.
much time. I don't want to be in that role.
No,
I just feel as though we have to honor the district's position, and we need to support them in whatever way we can, as long as we're not operating outside of what the CDC is telling us to do. Regarding athletics, that is going to play out for itself. That's what I believe. I had another call this morning, and we've had with a district where parents are now choosing. They only have a handful of kids even coming face to face to practice. In many of our districts, there have been a large number of kids that have gotten sick. One of our districts currently has 22 kids infected and quarantined in one sport. And this is the same thing playing out across the state. So if we have college athletics on hold, how is this happening? Another conversation strand I had with a superintendent was essentially along the lines of academics is a right, school is a right, athletics is a privilege. It's something we do to help develop well-rounded kids. It does teach a lot of really critical skills. But if I had to choose between, do we have people safe enough to have them back in school versus Friday night football, we're leaning toward academics. So I think the biggest challenge for the districts is some concerns that are being discussed at the state level. If a particular district and not the athletic association shuts down athletics, will kids leave to go to neighboring districts to play? Under the current rules, they can do that if a district doesn't offer a particular sport. Does it actually constitute that a district's not offering the sport, or they're not able to hold the sport that they offer? And so we're waiting for clarity. There's another call on Thursday afternoon. We'll see what is found out at the state level, but there's so many layers to this. It is very complicated. The other layer to this is some of the insurance providers are currently threatening, if you bring kids back face to face full time and somebody gets sick, we're not covering you. So there's so much going on right now. The last call I took last night was at 9:30 last night regarding this. This has just been it's an unending stream.
And at the federal level, they're fighting over not providing liability protection for businesses, which the school is a business. That you can't sue the individual entity for if you contract the disease.
Right. So
I think a lot of it comes back to personal responsibility. I mean, if you have a health condition, or even as a teacher, 90% of teachers should go into the building. But if somebody does have a pre-existing condition or something that makes them more susceptible, then then they have a different circumstance, just like the child does.
So that's true, Gary, and I think that what's happening in terms of conversations and how this is all being interpreted by the various people who have their own lens to look through is that at the end of the day, if a school district is doing what they need to be doing in terms of keeping people safe, that entity can still be sued. People can sue anybody. That's what people don't understand. It doesn't matter whether there's protections in place or not. You still have that cost of legally fighting whatever it is, even if it's dismissed. But what teachers need to understand is that negligence matters, and there is personal liability, and an individual who will not engage in what's being asked of them from a safety standpoint can be held personally liable. And so that is going to be, I think, one of the important conversation strands that need to be had with staff. But I think this situation is going to continue to remain fluid for the next year, to be honest. And I just hope that science can continue to take a lead, or can take a lead, versus conjecture, because there are a lot of people out there that currently are armchair scientists and physicians who think they know what we should be doing, and I don't know, it just muddies the water. I think what comes out as anger in the public is really uncertainty and fear. When it comes out as anger, they've got to be upset with somebody. And schools, unfortunately, are the easy button. So districts are trying to be very thoughtful. On Friday, we have another conversation about what their plan is going to be given this new letter and other conversations they've had with their legal counsel and insurance. And we have created a Google Drive, and I already have a Google folder for superintendents, but they are submitting to me their plans, and they'll all be uploaded into there. Some were submitted, now they're obsolete, so I'm waiting for new plans. But once we have all of that, our hope is to create some sort of a document that provides some clarity to staff, because we have staff all over this county.
So Marie, have we given you enough input on thoughts for and Laura?
Yes, looks like we're gonna be doing continue with the face-to-face, do the virtual, follow safety procedures, and
I think the one thing that's out there, a given, the only given is that things are gonna change.
yeah.
And they may change daily. And we just have to go with the flow, as they say.
Yep, we're going to have to, because even at the county level, all the way up to the federal level, just like our health department comes out and say they make a decision data driven, and then less than a week later, oh no, we change our minds.
Yeah.
Because of pressure.
Politics is way too much into the whole thing. If I had any complaint, that would be it. Science should take priority in the medical profession. But
Alrighty.
other issues to share?
No, I mean, I think that really sums up what we've been focused on for the summer. I feel like we've done a good job in terms of filling positions with quality people, and we're ready to roll about as well as we can be at this point.
Okay. The next item is Eastland Fairfield.
Oh, wait a second, I got one more question.
Oh, no problem, Gary. Sorry.
Marie, as far as every school district's going to open semi-different way. So with our aides or our staff, I would assume would be following the individual school district, whatever they're doing.
Yes, they always have.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. That's
All right. Charlotte, do you have a question?
Yeah, I would just, okay, I am unclear about, school districts are now planning, if they're like doing alternate days. Are they trying to do remote and in class at the same time, or are the students really only going to school 2 days and 3 days total?
No, a hybrid is they have some face-to-face and some remote.
And are they to be on remote on the days they're not at school?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. Thank you. My other point is, it doesn't affect our policy, but just be aware, when we're talking about our health insurance, if somebody gets sick, if they get badly sick, that's a huge expense, as well as whatever it does, the human costs and so forth. Do schools have plans for when they have their somebody test positive?
Yes, we've worked through the health department what the protocols are. We've done that countywide. We have the protocols for what happens if somebody tests positive. Regarding the contract tracing, who's considered a case, who's considered a contact, and how all that, what the quarantine rules are, all of that is led by the health department, but we all have those procedures. We've gone over those multiple times with superintendents.
So are they kind of like high school? Are they changing classes, or I presume they are? So they're not potting at all, or?
It depends on the district how they're managing it. For some, it's only the teachers changing and the kids aren't. And for others, some courses are face-to-face and some are online. It just depends on, every plan is different. So once those plans are set, I'll give you access to that shared folder and you can take a look at them. But at the end of the day, essentially here's the health department stance. Let's say Johnny in 5th grade is diagnosed. He's got COVID. What they'll look at is who has Johnny been with for a cumulative amount of time of 15 minutes or more without a mask within 6 feet. And that person will be considered a contact. Johnny's a case, that's a contact. What doesn't count is just the casual walking up and down the hall 6 feet apart, masks on, going to the bathroom, by yourself, or with, enough kids to keep distance, etc. That's not considered somebody who would have to quarantine. So those people who are contacts would be expected to quarantine for 14 days. Okay? That does not necessitate the shutting down of the school. Now, one thing that we haven't accounted for is whether we technically followed, and they'll do the contact tracing with the family, etc. What they haven't accounted for is hysteria. So if one classroom shuts down, or one little group or pod of kids shuts down, will that create mass hysteria for the rest of the building? I'm suspecting it might, but we'll have to get to there when we get to there.
Yep.
If Johnny is living in a house and grandma gets sick, and he's had contact with grandma, Johnny would have to self-quarantine for 14 days, but nobody else in the classroom. That's the health department's stance on this, because Johnny wasn't infected. He's not positive. He's just he's a contact, he's not a case. So contacts of contacts do not need to self-quarantine, just the initial ring of contact. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's back to the bottom line. It's fluid,
It's fluid.
and I almost bet guaranteed it's gonna change
Yeah.
daily.
I think so.
Okay, are we good? We'll move on. Back to Eastland.
They had, there's a 3-phased approach as far as school over there, A, B, and C, and we're currently planning on doing the B thing of rotating the juniors on face-to-face 1 week, seniors the next week. There was a construction report due to the rain and stuff within the facility over there. They're still relatively close to being on schedule on the $9.5 million project.
Have they've started it, then they've.
Oh, yeah.
They're at the point walls are going up.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
There was a lot of problem at the beginning because there was a section of it where there's a lot of concrete dumped, which I told Bonnie to call, Lance Westcamp, who's the mayor of Groveport, because he knew a lot about that, because he helped with that baseball movement. And that's where all that concrete came from. When they tore out the dugouts and stuff, they just threw that into that pit over there because nobody was using it. Well, that happened to be part of the area where they had to excavate in order to build this building.
Interesting.
So it's been kind of a mess. And the only other thing was we talked about the hiring of the superintendent and the procedures that were going through with that.
Do they have a deadline at the end of December?
Well, yeah, but we may move the deadline up if the person can come to the district before that date, before Bonnie leaves. But, that's kind of fluid right now until we actually get into interviewing the people.
I think October 31st.
October 31st
When
was
they're
the
really
other
trying
day.
to have it
Yeah.
in place, so they'd have a little bit of overlap.
Good. Gary, anything to add about Eastland?
Nope.
Okay. We are down to additional items, and I know the one additional item we need to talk about is Charlotte's going to be teaching again starting next month. And it's always the fourth Tuesday, right, Charlotte?
I teach on Tuesday mornings.
Every Tuesday morning?
So our fourth Tuesday then, the class on Tuesday morning, the lecture is 8 to 9:50. And at this point, I don't have anything scheduled later. That's the last teaching for the day. So it just depends on if people want a little later in the morning or whether they prefer right after lunch or what.
What would work best here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Like 1 p.m. We could just move the meetings to 1 p.m. the
That's
same
fine.
day.
Does that work?
Charlotte, did you say, so our December board meeting is, sorry, no facial hair,
22nd.
is December 15th. Will your classes be done by then? Or will we need to change that one as,
It will be finals week, and there is, the slight possibility that I could have a final right then, but that's not,
So
not all
should we
that
go
likely.
ahead and change our board meeting times to 1 p.m. through December?
How
That'd be
does 1 p.m. work with you, Gary,
That's fine.
Ron,
Fine.
Mary? So we would do them just leave the calendar as is. We'd move from 8:30 to 1 p.m. I'm hearing agreement that take care of everything. Charlotte, give you enough time in case you're driving between.
No, I'm not driving. It's all remote.
Okay, well, but if you had to go in, you'd be okay with time.
Yeah,
Okay,
they are.
Do we
they're-
need a motion? Do we need a motion?
yes, we do.
I'll make a motion to keep the date the same, but switch the time to 1 p.m. for August through December.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bartlett, a second by Ms. Pierce. Any discussion? Roll call for the change.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes,
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman.
Yes. Thank you, Charlotte, for letting us know in advance so we could make the change for you.
Yep.
So that's still the fourth Tuesday.
For Tuesday except
1
December,
o'clock.
Yep.
Except December.
1 p.m.
I'll go around. Gary, anything else today?
Just stay healthy, people.
You too. Charlotte, anything else?
no,
Okay. Ron?
No.
Mary? I second Gary's comment. Everybody stay safe and well. And God help us all.
Somebody needs to.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Move by Mr. Bartlett,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Fowler. Roll call.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
yes.
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman.
Yes. Guys, take care.
Hey, you too. See ya.
Have a good month ahead.
May all our students and teachers stay well. Hey, Marie,
Yes?
one of the things I forgot to ask about is why did we need an associates plus on the teachers? I presume teachers.
That's because Lancaster City Schools wants to hire a registered nurse with an associate's degree.
Sorry. I forgot.
Okay.
That was a request from the district.
Okay, and so they're on a teacher's schedule and not some other schedule then. Okay,
Right.
okay.
And they'll have a pupil services license,
Okay, well, yeah, okay.
not a teacher's license.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care, Charlotte.
You too.